Bernie helped make you the candidate who beat Donald Trump by 3 million votes.
That is why this pardon is a slap in the face to Latinos.
Ted Cruz masturbates to pictures of poor people without health care.
She looks like if Tinkerbell had sex with James Gandolfini, only it came out more James Gandolfini. BBC accidentally aired an erotic video in the background of a live broadcast. But who was in that edit bay? Ramadan ended this weekend. So in honoring our Muslim friends, of course, we need to find where Mecca is. The newly released Tata towel was designed to solve the boob sweat problem. Michael Moore, he's their new spokesperson. ESPN called Robert Lee due to his name. How about just calling him Bob? Problem solved. It's amazing how smart you have to be to create something that stupid. Yes. That's not going to get trending. That's the face of victory after missing our first show since the first week due to tech issues.
Horrible.
Yesterday. We have a great show today. We have Dave Rubin, we have Roman Millennial, and we have Not Gay Jared producing with me in video studio as always. Follow him on Twitter at NotGayJared. Me at Escrowder with your comments, your photoshops, your conclusions. I've fulfilled my legal obligations. Are we good?
They're good.
Hey, look who we have in studio. At Owen Benjamin. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, Stephen. How are you?
Very well.
Well.
How do you are, I'm surprised that slipped by you.
I'm not big into grammar. I'm more into meaning and truth.
Well, I guess I can appreciate that. Also, it sounds like you're full of shit. So, we have Dave Rubin. You're a fan of the Rubin.
I love Rubin.
He's a good guy. Good guy. You know, one thing with Rubin, though, is it's always going to, like, his interviews, he can get anyone because it's not going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's not going to be hard. A little bit harder with this show sometimes. We're like, oh, yeah, we'll do the show. They go, wait, hold on a second. Were you the guys who played Spot the Tranny? As in transgender? Come to think of it,
that was
Marco Rubio's busy.
Yeah.
Click. It happens all the time. It happened with Ben Carson.
Yeah, Rubin's like, so I hear you really like water.
Yes. So do you like drink it to sustain yourself?
That's so cool. Tell me more about water.
No, but I do. Listen, the guy has also created some bridges. So, I mean, he's unbelievable. Really good guy.
He's a genius.
Yeah.
Dude's a genius. I love that guy.
Sweetheart. We'll be talking, by the way, about Title IX, Betsy DeVos, because I know Trump, DACA is going on. We don't have a ton of info, so we don't like to speculate a ton on that. But we do know a lot about Betsy DeVos, Title IX, and people wanting her to be raped from the left because that's tolerant. We'll talk about that. But top Twitter trend this morning was regarding a sign that was broadcast from Fenway Park in the middle of a baseball game that read, "Racism is as American as baseball." And of course, this led to countless op-eds and Twitter people talking about how this was the obvious and a sign of our times. Racism is as American as baseball. Hey, said 36.2% of the MLB. That ain't right, said 74.4% of the NBA. Could it be more unifying sports?
And A said 100% of the curling league?
But no one heard them because no one was watching.
No, I just think that guy just wanted to get on TV, and he did.
Yeah, it worked.
It's a great sign if you just want people to talk about you. Just say something that you know will make the view spiral.
I guess I was reading up on this, and I guess there are fewer black players than there used to be, and so they were complaining about that. But there are more Latino players.
Yeah,
than
they've
ever.
just been replaced by other minorities. So
yeah,
it's
I know.
Like
It's like it's like a shell game. Like, who's the oppressed one? There is none. It's gone from all the shells. Kidding, it was the black guy. So Donald Trump did come to a deal on DACA. He says he didn't. You been following this, Owen?
Yeah.
that means no. Deal with DACA with Nancy Pelosi and Senator Schumer late last night. He said he didn't, but then he did say there were some talks, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders had some words to say. We actually do have some exclusive footage, though, right now of the deal that is still in process.
That's awesome.
There's a double meaning there. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Photographer has settled a 2-year legal fight against an animal rights group over a monkey selfie picture. So this is true. It was U.S. judges. They actually said that copyright protection could not be applied to the monkey, but PETA said the animal should benefit. And the reason for that is they were trying to say that the person who takes the selfie, this monkey actually took a selfie with his own fingers, should have...
By law, whoever snapped the picture gets the copyright.
Right. By law, whoever snaps the picture should have the copyright.
Yep.
So, but they didn't see it that way, though. He lost the lawsuit. 20th Century Fox has already secured the rights for the upcoming film Dunstan Hires a Jew.
Could have done so much better.
Dunstan, monkey films just make everything successful. But this happened in Wales.
Yeah, I was just in Wales, and in the Welsh, in the defense of the Welsh, they do have very attractive sheep, and they take them very seriously. I think PETA should stick to the pockets. That's a dad joke. That's a dad joke.
People have been fired for less.
That's true. People have been fired for
PETA
less.
pockets? You never have a PETA pocket?
I have never had a PETA
delicious.
pocket. I've had pizza pockets. Is PETA pocket? Is that a thing?
PETA.
Yeah,
PETA.
for like pita bread, hummus.
Is it the same
Wooly.
company?
Baba Ganoush.
It's just like a pocket. It's called a PETA.
Is it the same company? Because you can't do that many assortments of food well.
Tell that to those guys.
They're selling like hotcakes, I guess. I've never heard of PETA pockets, so people will undoubtedly tweet me, "You're an idiot."
Racism is as American as PETA pockets.
Yes. Can you imagine the back of that VHS cover? Dunstan Hires a Jew. Uh-oh! Johnston finds himself in trouble, searching for someone with a lot of vowels in his last name. I don't know. Does anyone take PETA seriously anymore? Apparently, Carrie Underwood.
No. You?
No, they make me want to eat a panda.
Transgender man Colton Alexander. So this is another story, and then we'll get to Title IX. Trust me, it's worth it. Transgender man Colton, female to male. Well, there you go. You see the picture. I don't need to narrate.
No further explanation.
Coulter Alexander, was displaying his taped back. This was in the top of my Apple News feed, by the way.
I know, mine too.
Like, do you have any? It's one of those things when I'm looking just at basic news now. I have to feel like Ted Cruz favoriting his tweets. I'm looking at it and I'm making sure my wife is not looking over my shoulder because this can pop up. You have a little boy. Does it ever concern you that, he's just going to open the Apple News feed and this taped back rubber tits?
Bro, we're going to start like churning butter. Like, I'm out, man. I'm opening this stuff to see what the weather is, and it's like, this is a dude with taped tits. And I'm like, you know what? I'm out. You guys have crossed one too many bridge. I'm out. Colton isn't even his real name.
It's Coulter. Yeah, Coulter.
Coulter.
I don't even know. It sounds like a TV name.
Sounds awful. Sounds like an awful name.
Coulter.
So Coulter Alexander displays his taped back breasts on Instagram in a bid to show us the beauty of the physical process of changing sex. So an actual quote was, when the revelation hit him, meaning her, he posted an SOS on Tumblr about needing a doctor who would understand the urgency of his need for testosterone, and found a man who told him where. Can you imagine that doctor? Like, I don't think the chemo's working. Out of my way! Someone needs some duct tape for their areolas.
I can't imagine like falling off. Like, this is an emergency, right? I can't imagine like falling off a ladder and be like, honey, quick, post something to Tumblr.
Make sure the world knows my story.
Are you here? Do you have polio? No, I want like fat fake tits.
Is it like a vaccine? But I hear they make you retarded. No.
Coulter hires a Jew.
This is another quote from there. We are real people with real emotions. And I love that as, and we aren't out to steal your partner, said Coulter. Thank you. That's what keeps us up at night. Can you imagine the ego? Can you imagine the ego? There's like, oh, don't worry, we're not out to steal your partner. Yeah, we got it. Like someone else like an appendectomy, like, oh, I just had this procedure. By the way, I don't want to pork your wife.
And people who talk like this are always doing what they say they're not gonna do.
Yes.
It's always like, I'm telling you, my apartment is very safe for women. It's like, who would say that? We're not here to steal your partner. That's a guy trying to steal your partner.
It's a woman who wants to be a guy stealing your partner. And
Literally, no one's worried about this.
Did you see these pictures? Here's something that no one wants to talk about. Like, my wife had a friend who's gay. I almost said his name. I won't say his name, but who was gay. And it wasn't that he was gay that I didn't like him. It's that he was bitchy. Like, he was the gay guy where the only common ground he had was he would talk about the Kardashians, who was fat, how bad their wardrobe was. Like, he was the kind of girl who would be like, hey, I don't like you. But because he's gay, he gets a pass. I'm like, look at these pictures. This is a tranny. It's Geraldo Rivera pictures time. If you saw a straight guy on Instagram and it was nothing but those pictures, you'd be like, oh, that guy's a douchebag.
That's a douchebag.
Totally.
It's so like a vain douchebag. Like the guy at the gym who everyone hates.
Yeah.
And is a douchebag.
But because they're transgender, oh, wow, yeah.
It's like a douchebag with like really fat tits.
By the way, I want to prove to transgenders that you can truly transform and become a man and put on muscle mass like I've done. Weighs a whopping 118 pounds.
Right.
When I did a conversion from stones, like there is no weight class in a male sport that you could even join.
Right.
It is just, and it's not, people are like, why are you talking about, we're going to talk about Title IX. We'll talk about DACA with Dave Rubin. This matters because of the fact that everyone just wants us to play by rules that no one has agreed to except for them. And I think that's wonderful because I think more people are turning on them. But this is someone who is a self-important, egotistical narcissist taking pictures of themselves, putting it online with rubber tits, not rubber, I guess real tits, rubber pecs, I don't know. And they try to act like this person it's an unveiling of this wonderful new form of beauty that we've missed.
We're proud to announce the improved Coulter profile, with reduced appearance of tits through breakthrough use of masking tape, and having glued it to her ribcage. We've added facial piercings and a chin-strap beard, reducing femininity while increasing douchebaggery by 50%. Aluminium. And most impressively, we've managed to fit all this into a package, weighing in at a record-breaking 118 pounds. The headphone jack is still there.
That's all anyone wanted to know.
That's all I want to know.
That and wireless charging.
That's hilarious.
You were going to say something before we...
Oh, I was going to get bitter. As a 6'7" man, I get bitter looking at how chiseled that dude is because it's like, all he has to do is just not drink water for 4 hours and he's Brad Pitt from Fight Club.
Yeah, it is remarkable what happens when you actually just get to select, I'm going to take this hormone, and it's not steroids because I'm a tranny, and it's totally acceptable.
Yes.
Like imagine if you could just optimize every single hormone right. If you did it right now, you'd be considered mentally ill and abusing the law. They do it. It's beauty.
I feel guilty about lattes. Like if I drink too many lattes, I'm like, I feel like I have an edge over my friends because I have so much energy. Am I bombing today?
No.
I'm just kidding.
I was trying to the steroids. I get it.
It's a performance-enhancing drug.
It is a performance-enhancing drug. We've talked about this before. You know, a guy on steroids, picture Arnold, picture Lee Priest, any of these crazy bodybuilders like the freak shows you see on magazine covers. They do not enjoy the hormonal advantage over any of us as men, as we enjoy just naturally over women.
Not even close.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
It's not even close. And
it's several times over.
Google right now testosterone cancer or growth hormone cancer. I don't buy into it in small doses, but the truth is if you take mega doses of any kind of hormone that is foreign to your body, there is a strong argument that this enhances and accelerates the growth of cancers. You'll see this everywhere in all these whole foods. They will avoid using pesticides on fruit because these could act as hormone blockers or mimickers in the body in BPA-free bottles. When I inject testosterone directly into my scrotum, however, all of a sudden the science gets a little murky.
I enjoy, like at 37, I've had a slight downtick and I've enjoyed the peace. Like I'm like, oh, wow, I can like get a stamp collection. I'm learning Spanish. I'm like, I'm not just like constantly thinking about fighting people.
Right.
You know, I'm like, oh, thank you for stop screaming in my ears, balls. Like, why do people want more of that?
It's like
I have
angel
so much
and
as
devil.
Yeah.
Only it's just balls and balls until you're about 35 as a man. All right, Title IX. You asked me this before I said we were going to talk about this today. This is because it's Betsy DeVos and the campus rape. This is a discussion a lot of people were asking us to clarify earlier this week, but for the same reason when we prep these segments, and now people are mad that we're still providing relief to Harvey. They're like, why not Irma? Well, because we already promised the relief money to Harvey. We were already prepping Title IX, and now DACA is coming out. We'll talk about that next week. So Title IX, campus rape. This is an important topic because it ruins people's lives. let's set this for people who don't really know. We just throw around the term and Betsy DeVos and Title IX. Okay, Title IX is a portion of the United States Education Amendments from 1972. And this is what it says. No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. And you were asking me earlier, like, isn't it, you thought it was a sport thing? It can be sort of broad.
I thought that was about like letting women swim.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that that's. I'm sure it carries over.
Yeah, because we had Title IX in high school, and like we had to go through the motions of giving women like a football team, and then no one showed up, and then everyone had to pretend that they showed up, and we're like, okay, on to Section 10.
Like we have
Title
to find
10.
a sport that women can do, what people will show up to watch. Swim team.
Swim team.
Swim team.
Good
Can we take
point.
back their tits? Never.
Never.
So how did this come to have any relevance to campus sexual assault? Okay, 2011, Obama's Education Department wrote a Dear Colleague letter to all colleges outlining new procedures for detailing detailed and showed them how to deal with campus sexual assault. Okay, so what did this do? It reinterpreted Title IX as actually giving the federal government the authority to dictate all of the procedures that colleges would use to address sexual assault allegations. But by the way, cited, if you read this, we have a link to the PDF, cited all the research, like the 1 in 5 women are raped. I don't know if the 77 cents in the, imagine this is the president sending out, we're going to reform this because 1 in 5 women are raped.
Yeah, it's like poll was done at an awful party.
Yes, yes.
The people reading this, do they have Google? Do they have Google? No? Okay, we're good with that.
Yeah, we're just going to go with 1 in 5.
Brent.
Verifiably false. And that's where you get conspiratorial. Like, well, does the president of the United States not know that that's untrue? Because I know he went to Harvard. I know he was overseeing the Harvard Law Review, even though nothing was ever published from that point. It was one of the darkest periods. But he still, we hear he's really smart, right? So this required universities, based on these false sort of premises, to allow accusers, by the way, to appeal not guilty findings, which is basically a form of, it's like a violation of double jeopardy.
Yeah.
By the way, great film.
Great film.
Ashley
Very good
Judd.
film. Ashley Judd.
Great film.
She looked like a slightly attractive older lady back then. She still does today.
Well, she did not choose.
She did not choose when she gets her period. Did you ever see that? Her at the...
Dude, I was thinking of Face Off.
You're thinking of John Travolta and Nick Cage?
Yeah, I made a bad... yeah, I didn't know it.
Okay, so you can appeal not guilty findings, and it strongly discouraged cross-examination. So the most important point here is that the Obama administration actually demanded that colleges use what's called the lower burden of proof. Now, that's not just terminology, it's actually a legal term. So this means that instead of proving beyond a reasonable doubt, as we have to do in our legal system, the accuser, when it dealt with campus rape, only had to prove that it was likely, basically possible, that a sexual assault could happen.
Were you alive on Wednesday? Then it could have happened.
Do I got like a jury of my peers? No, she's already carrying the Serta.
Your peers are now kangaroos.
See, people don't understand the brilliance of Owen Benjamin, kangaroo courts. But it is true. These are effectively kangaroo courts. It's like Lord of the Flies on campus. So this is what happened. We're setting this up so you understand the actual history of it. Please go read more. Read the PDF, the Dear Colleague letter. So what did this actually do in practice? A record number of people have been expelled for sexual assault with no evidence at all. More than 100 people have or are now suing universities for violating their due process rights. So this is important because the attack against Betsy DeVos, and we'll talk with Roman Millennial about it, hint, not everyone agrees with angry feminists. The attack is, well, she's condoning rape. You see that from Planned Parenthood. You see it from Cecile Rich. You see it from all these people on Twitter. I can't believe every woman who claims to be a victim of sexual assault deserves to be heard. What about the guy who's been accused of sexual assault, who didn't do it? We can play that game too. You know, you can play that game on either side of it, and this is how they try to paint it. If you somehow oppose the interpretation of Title IX, which Betsy DeVos does, which has destroyed countless lives, you're a rape apologist. That's why we wanted to get into this. Now, what has this done in practice? Let's give you some examples, because everyone knows, you know Mattress Girl, right?
Yeah.
Mattress Girl, UVA, the Rolling Stone, Duke Lacrosse. So these are ones that everyone knows. But again, hundreds of people are suing because of violation of the due process rights. So let's give you some examples of Title IX abuse that you might not know about. So Amherst College, 2012, male student passed out at a party after drinking too much. While he was unconscious, his girlfriend's roommate performed fellatio, I guess we'll say this is going on broadcast, on him.
Oh.
Well, see, now that I said fellatio, you just undid me all the, I was trying to be clean about it, but adding the I could have just said Blowjob.
Blowjob.
Thanks.
Oh.
As someone doubts now what he was talking about. So she texted her friends about it. This is an actual story. It says actually probably even way worse than Mattress Girl. I don't know why I didn't get the same press. Direct quote in the text was, "Oh my God, I just did something so effing stupid." She was worried her roommate would never talk to her again because of what she'd done. And she texted, quote, "It's pretty obvious I wasn't an innocent bystander." Now, she wasn't raped, but for using the term obvi, someone could understand why one might be aggressive with her.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a weird abbrev.
So 2 years later, after this, she accused him of sexual assault. The result, the guy was expelled. When the girl's friend came forward with texts showing that she was actually the guilty party, the college refused to open the case. Now keep in mind, the guilty man in this case was never even charged with a crime. So this is another example at Amherst College. Imagine she blew a guy in his sleep and then 2 years later said she was sexually assaulted. There was evidence to the contrary, and this guy's life is ruined. This is not atypical, by the way.
I feel like the whole, the timeline is so weird when you see these, if you got violently raped in the alley right now, would you, realize that, a couple years down the road, maybe?
Guys, I'm never falling asleep again.
I feel like maybe I was raped.
It's time for me to step forward. Blockbuster raped me with their overcharges, and I've been waiting for 20 years. $21 for Willow.
Time to collect.
Time to collect, Blockbuster.
Got the check.
You can't, I think there's a law, you can't collect if Val Kilmer is no longer recognizable.
That's a good point.
I think he's just living in Al Roker's fat suit, and this is Val Kilmer. They'll never find me here. University of Findlay in Ohio. Here's another one in 2014. So here's something. Often Title IX affects people of minority status on campus. People don't realize that. What do you do now?
Just constantly rearrange their priority.
Justin Browning and Alfonso Beatty the second. Who's the first? There was no first. We just like the name. It sounds distinguished.
The second is his middle name.
2 black athletes, so each had separate sexual encounters with a white female student one Saturday night, September 14th at the party. Okay. According to witnesses, she initiated both encounters. They were consensual. She even came out of the room between encounters and paraded in front of other friends naked in the residence. Now, does this mean she's guilty? Should be sexually assaulted? No, that's not at all what I'm saying. Don't say we're rape apologists. She then spent the entire night with Justin Browning and bragged to several friends afterward regarding the sexual encounters, okay? 13 days later, she filed a sexual assault complaint against both men. Only 2 days later, they were both expelled. Now, before even providing Browning or Beatty with any chance to appeal the decision, the school actually issued a campus-wide alert announcing their expulsion, and their names and photos were printed in a local paper. It's like an Amber Alert for fake rape.
Yeah, and
what color would that be?
I just don't get why my wife doesn't parade after our sexual encounters.
She does. She talks to me about it.
She never parades.
We talk all the time.
She just has a look of shame.
What were you trying to say? Did you just make a joke about the man's wife?
No.
You could probably reach over there and kick his ass right
Yeah,
now.
no, I'm already planning it.
So, the university, by the way, never followed up with any kind of evidence, and they denied the appeals. Again, they were never charged with a crime, let alone found guilty. Here's one that I find interesting, and the reason why is because, we see all these anti-bullying campaigns from the left. Same people who hope that Betsy DeVos gets raped, but, the rules get a little murky. So, gay male student, University of Texas at Arlington, he accused Thomas Clock. It could be Cloak. I could be mispronouncing it here. It's like the Koch brothers. Who would pronounce it that way?
Yeah.
You would say Koch.
Yeah,
or Cock. He accused Thomas Clock of writing anti-gay slurs on his computer during class. So basically the idea was he wrote an anti-gay slur and turned it over to the gay guy, okay? He wrote, apparently, all gays should die into his search bar and then called the gay student a f***it. So basically, there was no evidence, okay? The administration admitted there was no evidence. And Clock actually said that the gay student had been hitting on him, typing "you're beautiful" into his search bar and showing it to him, and Clock responded, "Hey, stop, I'm straight," and asked him to leave, which, by the way, is borderline committing a hate crime nowadays.
Yeah.
Just saying no to a gay man is seen as far more aggressive than a woman saying no to a male. Believe me, I've had this happen in the workplace. Why did you say no to,
happens.
Why did you say no to him? What do you have a problem with gay guys? What? No, I'm just not gay. Well, is that what it is? Or you're homophobic? I'm just not a homosexual.
This is a fanny pack only zone, bro.
So the gay student was friends. This is important to note. Friends with the Associate VP of Student Affairs, Heather Snow. She then went on to write a complaint for the gay student and punished the alleged man in question without even contacting the Title IX coordinator at the school. Now, Clark never received a hearing. He was prohibited from having contact with anyone in the class, which meant that it was impossible for him to contact any witnesses to corroborate his story. Here's something crazy. The school still required him to take exams for classes that he was prohibited from attending. He was placed on academic probation, and basically, the disciplinary record was going to keep him out of grad school, which he'd planned on attending. So, and if this sounds dry, this is important because he had planned on attending grad school. All of this, no evidence. The person happened to be friends with the vice president over there at the committee. Days after all of this, Clark killed himself. No history of mental health problems. By all accounts, happy, looking forward to graduation, moving on to grad school. Here's what's important for people to understand. Rape is a horrible crime. And I think every guy in this room would say, yeah, rape is terrible. I don't think anyone here wants to see anyone raped. I think if we knew a man who were an actual rapist, we'd probably beat him within an inch of his life. But it is life-destroying to simply throw the accusation of rape, especially on campus where it follows you for the rest of your life. There's nothing you can do about it. Think about that. Imagining all of your life's plans are destroyed by a gay guy with an axe to grind who's friends with someone who happened to be a VP over there in the Title IX department. Can you imagine how hopeless that would be? This is, again, that culture of victims. We need to appease these, creating actual victims. Where's the anti-bullying campaign here? Hey, say no to hate. Don't bully the kid with a lisp. Well, you drove a guy to killing himself because you didn't even allow him the legal tools that are available to anyone not at your university. You were talking about this before when we did the show. It was a really good point, Owen. You were talking about you have a choice of as a guy being the monster.
Yeah, the monster. Yeah, I mean that just bummed me out, man. That's crazy.
Oh,
it's like, would you? No. It's just like I mean that other guy is such a f***. No, but honestly though, like
that'll get a celebrity video where a bunch of people say the same phrase. Do you know? Do you know? Do you know when you say faggot? But it doesn't matter if you just falsely accuse a guy of rape.
I was just in Europe for 2 weeks, so I believe he was a bundle of sticks.
Yes.
That's what they call a pack of cigarettes.
Well, it's changed meaning for a long time. They did an episode of that on South Park. You can't give so much power just to words that hurt people's feelings and then remove powers from institutions that allow us to protect ourselves legally as per the Constitution. We want everyone to be afraid of, oh no, there's a vowel, but we don't want them to actually have the ability to protect themselves, which, hey, that's kind of the founding of our country. Should constitutional rights apply to a student? Yeah, if he's an American citizen. These are the same people who want us to apply constitutional rights to people who are not American citizens, but we require no actual proof beyond a reasonable doubt to ruin a man's life for the rest of his life. And if you speak out against it, you're a rape apologist. This is why Title IX is so important. And even if you don't like Betsy DeVos, I don't think she was most experienced. We'll talk about this with Roaming Millennial. I'm sure she has some opinions. When you look, again, it makes you kind of like with Donald Trump. It makes me have to defend her more because there absolutely needs to be a change here. You will destroy a generation of men forever. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy who encourages people to rape on Saturday night. We'll have Roaming Millennial after this.
Yeah, I don't even know what she is. I think she's like Polynesian.
No. I heard Latina. I definitely heard Latina.
Look where she goes now with her strange complexion. Nondescript features hard to tell. I heard she's from Japan.
No, she's half Mexican. No denying she is hard to peg, that girl.
Bonjour.
Good day.
Or is it hola? Bonjour.
Aloha.
Or konnichiwa. Is she Chinese? No, Puerto Rican.
There must be more than this biracial life.
And now listen to this.
Just want to see how awkward we can make introducing her. All right, in studio, you know her, you love her. What?
Achieved.
Achieved.
Yeah, I can't
awkward
dance
level
as well
unlocked.
as you.
Well, you're so. Hold on, let me get the plug in. YouTube, Roaming Millennial, Roaming Mill on Twitter because that bastard Jack Dorsey makes you shorten it.
He's triggering OCD across the planet.
Are you OCD?
I mean,
Or are you just half Asian?
If I say yes, all of these OCD advocates are gonna be like, meh.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's one of those things too where people say, I'm bipolar. No, you're not. I know people who are bipolar. It's not fun, but I'm not gonna make a thing out of it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just OCD people who are obsessive compulsive about not having a sense of humor.
yeah, weird.
Roaming Mill, 1L, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were just talking about this before the break. You can't watch yourself.
No, it triggers me. It triggers me.
So you're not going to be watching any of these Beauty and the Beast?
Oh, especially not those. Especially not those.
By the way, I guarantee you've gained the respect of countless fans here just for
no
having
doubt.
done it.
100%.
Because, yeah. I will say this. Most women, respectfully, most women are not funny. And that's just, you know what it is? Most women are not willing to embarrass themselves.
I do think that's true. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I feel like this is mostly guys, but like I told you beforehand, I'm like, listen, you don't have to wear any of this stuff if you don't want to. She just came right out of the costume room. She's like, here I am.
Yeah.
Let's roll.
I'm in a bra made of seashells.
Well, I feel like once you're already out there on the internet, people are taking the crap out of you anyways, right?
Yeah.
So there's really nothing you can do to make it worse at this point. So I was like, yeah.
You take a lot of crap, and I will say that you take a lot because I think it's pretty well known that you're a Christian conservative, and even though you've talked a lot about this sort of populist nationalist movement, you're not alt-right. So you get flack from obviously liberals, you get flack from feminists, and then you get flack from the alt-right. It's pretty rare. It seems like people have said, okay, we have to walk this straight and narrow right now if we still want to maintain a conservative fan base in the era of Pepe memes. Was that a conscious decision, or is it just something that happened?
I just like upsetting people, apparently.
Yes.
And there have actually been videos where it's
including
like,
your mother, because you're not a lawyer or doctor.
Right, that's
or
true.
your dad. Sorry,
yeah,
your dad
the
is Asian.
The Asian
it's
guilt.
hard to, yeah.
But there have actually been videos where I've managed to, I guess, skillfully trigger all these different segments. I mean, but for me, it's just like, I guess it's maybe because being a Christian conservative, there are so few people out there already that kind of have those views or that think it's an acceptable way to live your life, I guess. So, I mean, anytime you say something that's kind of, you know, even like there's a lot of skeptic anti-feminists out there on the internet right now, like on YouTube, it's a very popular opinion to have, but there have been videos where I've kind of, I guess, strayed from that. And then, you know, even some subscribers who might love all my other videos, as soon as they kind of get a hint of that, oh, you're not just a anti-feminist, you're also this.
Well, you have moral standards, and people, anytime you have moral standards, people feel judged. So I've gotten that too, where I wrote an article. I was like, hey, be a real man, stop bad-mouthing your wife. And I wrote about it, I was like, well, listen, you know, I actually love my wife. I actually really enjoy spending time with her, and I don't think it's very becoming, shall we say, to just go around and just trash your wife. And a lot of these people are like, man, I used to have respect. You're a total cuck. I'm like, I don't think you realize what that term means. I like to watch somebody have sexual intercourse with my wife. Yes, I don't badmouth her because I like engaging in relations.
Yeah, but it's funny what can upset people now. I remember on Twitter, stupid thing, there was this article in Time about how this woman, like, making her marriage open made the marriage even better for her, and I kind of took issue with it, like, hey, maybe if you want to be sleeping with other people, marriage might not be for you, and I upset all these polyamorous.
Yes.
Somehow, and it's like, really, if we can't even say that you shouldn't sleep with other people when you're married, like, what is there just no?
I can just see the comment section. They're gonna be, but here's the thing: ignore the comment section, because normal people, they watch a video. If they enjoy it, that they move on.
Yeah.
It's the crazy people like in the comment section right now. By the way, the compliments are awful. I will say one thing: as a woman on the internet, the compliments are usually more vulgar than the insults.
Yeah, true.
They just like, it's just
and like weird stuff too.
Yeah, weird stuff. Weird. Do you ever get any weird pictures sent to you?
I don't have anything open where people can send me pictures.
Okay.
Like I know some people have their Snapchat open. Mine is absolutely not. I don't like that's just.
Yeah. Well, check your inbox after this. I think we'll see some changes. So we were just talking about this Title IX. Right. Betsy DeVos. You're a woman. Rape on campus. Your opinions.
Well, I mean, I know you guys.
First off, you've never been raped on campus, right?
No, or anywhere else. Just if we're.
Well.
Yeah.
There's a first time for everything. Who knows?
But yeah, I mean, so I went to USC in California my freshman year, and the rest of the time I was at BYU, which are two completely different campus experiences. But
did you live on campus?
Right. Yeah, I lived on campus
and
when I was.
And you weren't raped on campus?
I know. Weird.
You are a unicorn. Continue.
Weird. But I mean, you guys have covered this on this show. Women on campuses are less likely to be raped or assaulted in any way than women in the surrounding towns, and I think that makes sense. If you look at the kind of guys who are in university, or women, because anyone can rape, they're generally better to do, better educated, which statistically speaking makes them less likely to commit any crimes. And I think all of this hysteria over campus rapes, it's actually kind of, I mean, in my opinion, it's delegitimizing actual instances of rape, right? Yeah. And I don't know, this whole thing with Title IX, I just don't think that schools should be dealing with rapes at all. I mean, because that's an actual crime. Like if you're assaulted, you can go to the real police, and they will actually, you know, look into this, maybe arrest the person. Like, there's a trial. You don't need schools to be doing this at all.
Right. Well, what's ironic is these are the same people who just think it's a travesty of human rights that, you know, in Guantanamo Bay, terrorists who are not American citizens aren't subject to American constitutional rights, and they put them before these human rights tribunals, but they have no problem doing it with a woman just needs to say rape. And you could be at the salad bar at your campus cafeteria, and they're just going to tackle and tase you. Your day's done. Just a girl even just says, "Ray," and they'll finish it for you. Pa! And it's like Marco Polo, and you're done.
Right. And what's so upsetting to me, at least, is, you know, after Betsy DeVos came out and gave her statement, so many people were acting like she was just saying, rape is legal now. Yeah. Have at it. Like, no, that's the stance people are taking.
Yeah.
It's like,
Go for it, kid.
There's a difference between saying rape is okay and, hey, rights of the accused are a thing, you know, due process, let's think about this. But in the minds of these, I don't know, these crazy feminists, it's like, if you, like, even question that maybe we should sort of look into this before jumping on board, hey, this guy's a rapist, it means you're rape complicit.
Why would they lie?
Why would they lie?
No women ever lie about anything ever.
I know. Yeah, looks like Mattress Girl. Can you imagine being that guy and you have to watch your college graduation from a live stream, and you see that girl walking out there with the mattress, like Simon with the cross.
No, but it's upsetting because I mean,
Simon, right, with a cross?
Was it Simon?
So Simon or was it
Thomas?
Wait,
No.
who was the Carrier's cross? I'm trying to think of the song.
Crap! This is embarrassing.
This is not good. You should know this.
We'll fix
Why
this.
should me more than you guys?
Someone, hey, I don't.
Equal opportunity.
I don't know. You seem like a moral lady. Anyway, yeah. Can you imagine that though? Just imagine being that guy. Like, I think it's horrible to be raped.
Yeah, of course. And like, no one on the other side of this, like, no one in this conversation at all thinks it's okay to rape.
No, she only
right?
said that during the commercial break. But the point is, imagine watching that and some lady like going like carrying her mattress, and you know, you're like, I have the text right here of her like requesting sodomy, and me being like, no thanks. I mean, can you? That's just it is. And here's the thing: even though we know it's not true now, that guy's life is devastated.
Ruined. Yeah, and it's so frustrating because there are like, multiple instances where we found out, oh, by the way, this woman was lying. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was that lesbian who actually got prosecuted for I think she accused at least 5 guys, and one of them actually did hard time based on her rape allegations.
She accused them of raping her?
Yeah.
I think it was more like a suggestion.
But no, then one of them actually got punished at least, and now she's finally, you know, I guess everything was found out, and she actually got sentenced and everything. So it's like we know for a fact that at least some of these aren't true, but for some reason we can't actually bring it up, or else we love rape.
I don't understand why we can't. You know, I wasn't a huge. By the way, spent a lot of time in Grand Rapids, Betsy DeVos. The DeVos family have turned it into a great town. The DeVos's, Van Andels, people love to hate them because they're wealthy. They do a lot.
There's a reason it's the opposite of Detroit, some may say.
There's a reason Grand Rapids is booming. It's the opposite of Detroit. Some people are saying they're making a bid for the Amazon headquarters. Anyway, I mean, no place really in the Midwest could possibly do that outside of Grand Rapids and maybe Chicago now, but really that's just a few Teamsters come in and whack stuff off your table, say, you want to go here to Chicago, huh? I don't know why that was a horrible voice. But the point is, I still, even though I don't hate the DeVosses at all, they're great people, I was like, she's probably not the most qualified for this job.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
But now, again, this is kind of like what the left did with Donald Trump. This is something that should be entirely reasonable to everyone going, hey, men deserve due process.
Right.
And she's excoriated as though she's a monster, and as though that's something that most women would disagree with.
And there was actually this professor that, I think it was a tweet. He hoped Betsy DeVos would be sexually assaulted because of this, as you know, as if to prove some point. Oh, you want men to have due process? Well, I hope you get raped, because that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess more. He probably like, yeah, he wants her raped on principle.
Raped on principle,
of course, because he's very principled.
Because he's a man of upstanding moral fiber. I can look at that young lady who disagrees with me, and I can tell you.
But it's like
I hope she gets raped.
I think they're in a contest to see who can show how much they hate rape the most. And apparently, if you really, really hate rape as much as they do, then you don't even need proof because you hate it so much. Just the allegation of it should be enough.
Yeah, and if you really, really hate rape, you rape Betsy DeVos.
Right.
That's the
right.
ultimate, that's the crown
That's
jewel
how-
in the
yeah.
hating rape. So here's one thing I would like to ask you, because as a young woman, you're not married. Does it concern you at all that guys are going to be afraid, and you'll be an old spinster because no one at any point, just even doesn't matter how pretty you are, how kind you are, like I don't even want to touch it because all you need to do is say rape. Does it worry you that guys are getting turned off from women? They're being scared away from women. They're being scared away from being men because it could be misinterpreted.
That's a statistical reality.
That's a statistical reality.
Observation. That's
Have you seen it? I mean, listen. This is not rape. You're an attractive young girl. I'm sure there are plenty of suitors, plenty of people in the comments section right now who will do horrible things just to get downwind from you. But do you find that it's changed the dynamic as a woman sort of being courted by a man?
Well, definitely. I think dating culture is completely different than it was even 20 years ago. And I get all of these requests from people who are subscribed to me, specifically men, who want me to do videos about dating, how to meet women who haven't been indoctrinated by this crazy ideology that teaches them that all men are predators. Because, I mean, it's dangerous for a man now to just, try to be like, hey, how you doing? Like, want to get some coffee? Can I have your number? So, like, that might be harassment. Right? Honestly, that might be harassment to some feminists. And it's a scary position to be in when you're a young guy and, maybe you don't have a lot of dating experience. This is new. You're trying to meet new people. But there's this very, very concerted effort and narrative to teach young women that they should be afraid of men.
That's a good point. And I don't think any young women are buying it, but I do think that it's kind of like kids who see their parents fight unfairly.
Mm-hmm.
They know that it's a bargaining chip and a manipulation tool. I don't think young girls are afraid of men, but I think they know, oh, I just say that he raped and I get what I want. Not all women, but I do think some. Let me ask you this. So for you, how long have we been talking here? Because sometimes we can go on forever.
Yeah, 12.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, because we have Dave Rubin on the show, and then we have other people. And it's just a crazy show. Yesterday we had no show because there was no internet. How does that happen in 2017?
I mean, I've been in Canada, so very, very frequently. Yeah.
How often do you not get internet in Canada? Montreal, Tuesday, Thursday.
Sometimes it's no power at all.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
Just like not even electricity, just in general, just peace out.
I was going to have internet, but it fell down the sinkhole. You guys had sinkholes in Montreal. People don't realize that. Like, it was like consistent sinkholes. They were really deep. People just disappear. Didn't you have people who disappear they never found? Sinkholes?
I'm not sure if they ever found them, but I know, yeah, definitely that's a thing.
I need to grab a few people and go to Canada.
Yeah.
For sure.
The people in Montreal for 6 months were living on tremors.
Yeah,
it was
it's
awful.
A questionable level of development.
Well, and one thing, this is important because people, they sort of gloss over it. And Title IX was trending, and so Betsy DeVos is just sort of the person they copy-paste all of their sort of negative emotions to. Let me ask you this. As someone, you've obviously probably had guys ask you out on dates. Let's say, have you ever had an example where a guy might have asked you, like I said, to go out to coffee or a movie, and you weren't interested? Has that ever happened?
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle that?
No, thank you.
You just say no, thank you.
Yeah.
And have you ever had a guy like, oh, sure, and try to follow up maybe again, maybe make a second try, and you like, do you feel really uncomfortable if that happens? Do you take that as harassment? What do you see as getting into that level of harassment?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, if it's just like a stranger asking me out on the street, there's always the, oh, I'm a lesbian. Oh, I have a boyfriend. Those are great ways to just,
Have you actually used that?
Yeah.
They look at you, you're like, I'm a lesbian. Like one of the movies, they go, they do exist. I just thought it was butch-cutted chain gangs who editorialized at BuzzFeed. So you've used that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, I've never had a guy. I mean, actually, since starting my channel, there was this really awkward, like, ex-patron who that was like actually one of the first times where I was actually scared of someone. It was like that level
I
of
thought you
harassment.
say ex-patron because he was like one of the first to hit the tip jar. You're like, oh, thank you.
Thanks.
This is amazing. It's like, no.
Now
I want you to get the Johnson & Johnson.
Now you owe him.
And open-toe sandals.
But I mean, aside from that, in real life, maybe it's just the kind of people I hang out with. But I mean, most, if not all, of the guys who've, I've either gone out with and it didn't work out, or they've asked me out, have been in general pretty respectful. And I think part of it is also, I don't really go out a lot. I don't go to clubs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of these situations, maybe I'm just, I'm not hip with it. I'm not in this big
That's my
social
problem
scene,
too.
maybe.
I just don't go to the right clubs.
Yeah, he doesn't go to the right clubs.
That's why I
Well,
don't get
the
hit on.
problem is he's going entirely to the right clubs, and I asked to see his doctor every other Thursday. So here, the reason I ask you is because I can't ask it to. I mean, I've asked this question obviously to my wife. It's just something that you can't necessarily ask to someone who isn't being propositioned, like the lesbians who falsely accuse rape. it is important to note, like I understand that men can be aggressive. Like that's also not something that we're denying as a reality. But women also can't deny the reality that, I mean, men at some point actually have to make a move, you know, make a pass. And my question, I guess, being in college, being an educated person, do you think most women agree with the anti-Betsy DeVos, agree that just every single person who claims rape should be believed? Or do you think most women would probably say, yeah, due process? Because we certainly hear the feminists scream the loudest.
That's really hard. And, you know, just in general, I would love to say that, no, these feminists, they're this really small minority, but maybe it's because, you know, I'm the age that I am, I'm younger, and a lot of my friends who are women, you know, I met them in university, they tend to be more liberal as well. It's not that small percentage of women that would believe this. And I mean, it's definitely not, you know, not everybody, but I think a lot of women would kind of agree, like, oh no, like, yeah, like there's more weight on, I guess, the accuser. And I think part of that is maybe because they've been indoctrinated the way they have been to believe that, you know, just the allegation enough is like, we can't even touch that or else it's being insensitive and it might upset them.
Yeah, everyone, anytime you charge an issue and you're like, well, you know what, no uterus, no opinion.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, if you've never been raped, you really shouldn't know. You don't know what it's like. It's like, well, neither do you, Miss Lesbian, apparently.
Do you think they respect Betty DeVos's opinion a little more if she was just raped just a little bit? Just a little
Yeah,
rape?
do you think if she, like, would she get a rape card?
No, because she's conservative, so
That's
that
true.
doesn't count.
She would just be like, you know what, I am actually a victim of rape. They would be like, yes.
Yeah, well, that's
hear.
her fault because, I mean, of the view she was expressing. Did you see
And the way she
them?
dresses.
Awful.
Well, she's a white female, so, you know, someone's getting her back for Harvey, because that's her fault. Roaming Millennial on the YouTube, Roaming Mill on Twitter, and hopefully we'll see more of you on this channel. Where can people support you?
People can find me on YouTube, like you said. Roamingmillennial.com is also my website. I post exclusive videos there sometime. Instagram, yeah.
Hedging your bets with the YouTube adpocalypse, posting to your site?
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube, and I'm sure you understand that as well.
I know. I get it. Sometimes I feel like YouTube has falsely accused me of rape.
I do sometimes.
And then I realize, oh, I did do a little bit of it. We will be back after this. We have more, lots more. Roaming Millennial, isn't she lovely? You can watch the sketches. She can.
There it is again, so strong.
Oh, yes. Do you trust me?
Yes.
Do you need anything before we go? Like, do you need to, like, use the bathroom or something?
Oh no, I'm okay.
Okay. Do you want, like, some self-to-wear? I think I got some self-to-wear back there. No? No? Okay. It's gonna be fun. This will be good for us. I can show you the world like your homeland of Indonesia, South America, Thailand? Maybe? No, not Thailand.
Reach the wizard.
All right, glad to have our next guest. Love him. Love the guy. Very nice guy. Well, love's a strong word. I don't dislike him, and I don't wish bad things for him.
No.
You know him on YouTube, Rubin Report, on Twitter, @RubinReport. He was off the grid for about a month. I thought he was just sore with us. I didn't really know. Dave Rubin, how are you, sir?
Crowder, I just really did not want to do your show for a month, and I just really went all in and completely disappeared altogether.
Get in line. You are not the first person to do this. I've just had numbers changed on me for that exact reason. You got a beard going on, so was this part of the off-the-grid deal, or did you just want to...
part of the plan.
Yeah, I literally did it. I did no phone, no television. I didn't know what time it was because I don't wear a watch anymore. It's just through my phone. No social media, no news. I knew nothing. I was down in Mexico for a little bit, just trying to, decompress the brain. I worked on my book, got back here, did some gardening. I actually connected with humans. I go to the grocery store and I was nicer to the cashier than I would normally be staring at my phone.
What were you doing with the cashier before? What was Dave Rubin?
I'm thought of as very rude to cashiers. That's one of my things. People think I'm a nice guy, but I'm always very rude to cashiers. No,
I'll take a penny, but I won't leave one.
When you're online and they're doing their thing and you're just staring at your phone and it's like a human is right in front of you. So I just thought there were little moments like that I was being nicer. But to your intro very quickly, it reminded me of a great line from The Simpsons when Homer's trying to figure out who his friends are. And he asks Moe if it's his friend. He goes, "I'm a well-wisher in that I don't wish you any specific harm." So I think that's where we're at.
Well, there we go. I'm very glad to hear it. And, not a bad beard. Everything you said, you'd be like, oh, and then he mentions gardening. You're like, that's right.
That's right.
Okay, Dave Rubin. So,
you don't like fresh tomatoes? What's better than a fresh tomato?
I don't know what that's a euphemism for, so I don't even want to dive into this topic. I don't know what kind of sick, twisted world you people live in. Let me ask you this. DACA, well, you were off the grid. You picked one hell of a time to come back, buddy. There, buckaroo. You got Berkeley and DACA with Pelosi.
Hope you had a hell of a piss, Dave.
Yeah, hope you had a hell of a piss, Dave. Probably burned if it was happening in Mexico. You came back. Have you been following? I know you're not a Trump guy, but are you surprised?
Yeah. Well, if you listen to half of my critics, they think that the guy who I never supported, who I didn't vote for, that I'm a big shill for him.
Yes.
So look, to DACA, I mean, it sounds like right now that this thing's going to go through with the Democrats. Now, it's funny, it just goes to so many of the things that whenever we talk that we kind of focus on about sort of the dereliction of power and how the branches of government are not functioning anymore. The reason the Dreamers got in was because Obama did it by pen. Right, Nobody seemed to have a problem with that on the left. Then Trump says he's going to do the reverse by pen. Then everyone freaks out. This is why we should have laws passed by the Congress, as it is in that, what's that thing, the Constitution.
Yeah.
And now, actually, the hysteria dies down for a couple of days because Trump stakes out a scary position, which is part of negotiating. And now it sounds like they're making a deal with the Democrats. So, which, of course, will then have all the people on the left freaking out because, oh, my God, how are the Democrats, how are Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer making a deal with literally Hitler?
Yeah.
So
I think he's making a deal with...
Everyone's just bananas, and strange alliances are coming in all directions these days.
No, there's no alliance. I think he's making a deal with literally Skeletor. I have said this. Nancy Pelosi, and I think I've even said it with you on the show, is the only person I've ever flat out said, I believe is evil in American politics. I don't even say it about Hillary Clinton, about Bernie Sanders. I think people are wrong, but if you read what she believes and how angry and aggressively she champions causes, she's the only one who actually makes me sick to watch her. It is one thing that is, it does one thing for me, this. Let's get rid of the kind of the policy for a second. You've talked about this a lot. It really puts on display some hero worship because people who are like, he's gonna go in there and drain the swamp. Republicans haven't done anything. Republicans and Democrats are the same. We're gonna vote the GOP out and put in some true conservatives. Now they're like, well, Paul Ryan was a stumbling block to deal with Pelosi and Schumer. It's just the lack of consistency to me is remarkable. I will be the first to say, I hate that there's any deal with Pelosi and Schumer. We don't know exactly what it is, but it seems like a screw job. I don't think he's playing 4D chess. I think they've got him by the short hairs.
Well, and you can look at that. You can make that argument from both sides. I could see why the average Trump supporter might be upset right now. By the way, I see a lot of his big people on Twitter. I see them all pissed at him right now because he's making that deal. You can also see why the Democrats would be pissed because they've painted Trump as Hitler. So how can you make a deal with this guy? So it goes to the broader point of this team sport thing that politics has become is actually eroding our way of governing ourselves. It's certainly eroding the national conversation. I think you and I try to do a little better piece of that. We try to deal with it a little more honestly, and I don't think that either one of us are partisan hacks, and we can agree and disagree on some stuff as always.
Yeah.
But what's happening is because that chessboard has been flipped upside down right now and nobody can figure out what actually is Trumpism. So people say, well, what do you think of they'll say, Dave, you criticize the left a lot. You don't criticize the right. I'll say, well, actually, at the moment, it's a little harder to figure out what is the right. Is the right someone like you, maybe like a Ben Shapiro type, or a more traditional Democrat like a Paul Ryan? Or is being on the
what a jab! I mean, Dave didn't even realize. He's like, I'm being more polite since I've come back. I've just delivered a soul-crushing insult to Paul Ryan.
You see how subtly I did it, though, and I kind of just went right through it. And
that's what you did with the cashier.
Nice
yeah. You can give me 8 cents back, even though it's 4. Sure, thanks. Have a nice day. Passive aggressive. All right. Okay. So,
but my point is that Trumpism is a whole other thing altogether. So you sort of have to view every decision as if it exists in a vacuum and that it's not necessarily some broader thing. Because if it is a broader thing, nobody really knows what it is.
Well, here's the thing. I can understand if it's a broader thing if people say, listen, I'm an economic populist. So I'm not a conservative. I want tariffs. I want economic protectionism. I want economic nationalism, which flies. I don't believe, for example, in official rights coming to us, inalienable by a creator, constitutional rights. There's some alt-right people who are like, your rights are given to you by culture. I don't agree with it at all, but I understand there's some kind of a warped system there. What I can't have any respect for is when people just say #trust in Trump or trust me, he's got this. Believe him, no matter what, get in line. I don't get in line for any guy. We can't do it. Ted Cruz been on the show, good friend of the show. Yesterday, made some funny jokes about the porn business. It's funny. I don't think he did. I think his staffer did it, as anyone knows who has a big enough Twitter. But it's still funny. Like that is one thing. The cult of I will back a man no matter what. That concerns me more than even the sort of political team.
And then you just look silly. Like Ann Coulter, who has entire chapters of her book, said, "I don't want to live in a world without Donald Trump." And now she has to okay, maybe she does. Maybe she changed her mind. So when you marry yourself to that that idea.
Tough.
It's tough to come back.
Real quick on that Cruz thing, look, let's go on the assumption that he's telling the truth and it was an intern or whatever. I assume it wasn't him, but it's largely irrelevant to me. You know what I mean? Like, if it's nothing illegal, then who the hell cares? And actually, in the interview, he was kind of being funny. And the way Dana Bash was asking those questions, like, because she just wanted him to say dildo on air, basically. And it's like you're all just a bunch of preening, moralizing children, and this is not what anyone cares about. And I actually, if anything, I feel more empathy to Ted Cruz today than I did a week ago, and I kind of like him a little bit more.
Well, you know what? Ted Cruz is he's way better off the cuff. We've had him on the show, and when people have watched him on the show, like, wow, I never knew that he could actually be funny. I never knew that he could actually be personable. And that is, unfortunately, like the swamp. It's all the consultants and the strategists and the people, the Republican experts and think tanks, and they tell you, don't be exactly what won Trump the election. Okay, well, we'll move on from this because we'll be talking about DACA all next week. And one thing, we don't know exactly what the deal is. So I know you and I are like, I don't like to be in the business of speculation. They can tune into Fox News or MSNBC, and it's just, what do we know about the deal? Well, we don't know much. Back to you, Tom. Oh, I don't like this guy. Berkeley going on, obviously, with Ben Shapiro. As to how crazy it gets, how much they erupt, I don't know. But how insane is it that we are at this point? I mean, is this one of those times where you go, I cannot believe that, I worked with the Young Turks. You're for
Crowder, I wake up every morning and think that. So let's put that one aside.
Do you look in the mirror and say, who am I anymore? Wipe the fog?
It is. Hey, look, nobody's perfect. Listen, as to Berkeley, look, Ben Shapiro, whether you like Ben Shapiro or not, I know he's a friend of the show. I'm sure you guys are friendly privately. I'm friends with him privately, and he's been on my show.
Yeah.
Whatever you think of Ben Shapiro, the ideas of Ben Shapiro are basic conservative, basic right, sort of libertarian ideas. There is nothing that he says. Now, for example, I disagree with him on abortion. I am pro-choice.
Sure.
So I disagree with him on some topics that, by the way, we've discussed in my studio, which is in my home. So this is a personal thing to me, right?
That makes you the Nazi, eugenics, abortion. Continue.
Yeah. So we'll do that next time, okay?
Yeah.
But the point is that Ben Shapiro is not racist. He is not a bigot or any of those. He's certainly not a white supremacist. He's actually, although he doesn't like to play identity politics as any of us do, he's actually an Orthodox Jew who gets more hate online, according to some of these studies, than anyone else.
Yeah.
Now, putting that aside, forget that, though, because I would only want to judge him on his ideas, not on his religion or the color of his skin or any of those things. His ideas are mainstream conservative ideas. There is nothing that he's going to say that warrants the trigger warnings of the safe spaces or certainly to burn the schools down. But the media is feeding this monster that is allowing Antifa to show up there. It's allowing these kids to burn down the school and break windows and do all this stuff. Yeah. And they're encouraging it. They're tacitly encouraging it. I did a video this week because the LA Times headline was UC Berkeley braces for right-wing talk show host Ben Shapiro. Now, just the word braces, what does that make you think of these days? We've had two massive hurricanes.
It's a big umbrella term now. It includes looting, rioting, and felonies.
Exactly, but that these kids have to brace for it. You brace for a hurricane now. I mean, Google braces for Irma, braces for Harvey.
Yeah.
They're doing these subtle tricks. And by the way, they only use right wing. They only add that in when they're trying to make it seem like there's some sort of racist. Because otherwise, if they wanted to be even, what the headline should have said was left wing Berkeley braces for right wing Ben Shapiro. Right. But of course they don't do that. And people are starting to see through this nonsense. But if you do anything remotely violent tonight, I hope, I know the mayor of Berkeley sounds like he's a total tool, but I hope.
Dude, go with this. Let it happen. I like fired up Dave Rubin.
Down on these guys. You have the absolute right to protest, but you cannot use your free speech to impede someone else's free speech. It's the most fundamental American value that there is, actually.
Look at this. Dave Rubin came to play. You never
I'm
know.
here,
Sometimes he plays it
Crowder.
safe. Sometimes Dave Rubin can be basic bitch, but today he is digging in his heels a little bit.
Yeah, Dave, go on vacation another month, then come back.
Yeah, come back. Hopefully, always say no when you're offered the pumpkin spice latte, and just grow the beard, and you're like a lumberjack now, hacking away. You're talking like a conservative. You're not talking like a moderate.
First off, just for the record, I don't like pumpkin in general, but I don't like that pumpkin thing, and I don't like the way we all treat pumpkin things, for the record. And I suppose perhaps maybe I came back after not dealing with this nonsense, and now it strikes me as a little more obvious at the moment. It's just, look, I performed, I did a speech at Claremont McKenna, which is a small school outside of LA 2 nights ago, couple hundred kids. There were no protesters. Some kids asked me some challenging questions during the Q&A session, but there was an absolute respect for free speech. And I think that actually now, kids learning how to think, learning how to defend their ideas, and willing to be there to listen to ideas that are counter to everything they've been taught, that's actually becoming cool. Yeah. So we need to stop giving so much power to these freaks who want to just burn the whole thing down, because if we keep doing it, they're just going to be more encouraged to do so.
Well, the problem with it is, of course, like you said, the media is complicit. We have an educational establishment that's complicit, and that's where you look at Jordan Peterson and Gadsden and these professors who are speaking out. Of course, it's anti-intellectual. And one thing I will say, I've been dealing with this for a long time, being on YouTube since 2009. This wasn't cool for a very long time. The right, good example, right? I know you're kind of more moderate. You were more left at one point. To give you an idea, when you were more left, for example, a gay man in Los Angeles, I'm just using this as because a gay man in Los Angeles left. You are not going to face the same kind of adversity ideologically. You may have guys call you names, I'm sure you do, and slurs, and that's always homophobic jackasses. Okay, we agree. But I'm saying ideologically.
I always that from you, Crowder.
Yeah, well, listen, I have to do my part. I feel like people are going easy on you. You're getting soft. So what happens is, let's just follow that timeline. It's not the same as a conservative who goes through higher education, who watches or a conservative who works in the entertainment industry. It's like training with a weighted vest, because it's always been this way. I think now people are just seeing it because the media is just so blatant with their agenda, but it has always been this bad with the far left. It's just now, it's a baby acting out before they're being put to bed. People are catching on to it, but that is a big thing. Conservatives have been so frustrated with it for so long. I mean, I had a professor tell me she was gonna fail me. Helen Holt, because I was a Christian. It was Greek mythology. I don't know how I can't pass mythology. It's a common occurrence.
What did you do? Did you call Poseidon a libtard or something?
No, I don't. Come on, I don't use libtard.
But
no, she asked. She said, "Anyone here a Christian?" And I raised my hand. She said, "Well, you're not gonna be able to pass my class because I found that no Christians are open-minded." I'm like, what cosmic bunny hole did I jump into that you get to tell me you're gonna fail? Just blatantly.
Yeah. Well, even that phrase, no Christians are open-minded, that sounds like a very open-minded phrase from a professor, doesn't it? Yeah. But, to your broader point there, it's almost irrelevant to me whether it was at one time the left doing it, whether at one time was the right doing all that, because that just then gets you into that oppression Olympics thing and, we're suffering differently than these people and all that stuff. So I can put all that aside. What I can tell you right now is that you consistently see a defense of free speech from people on the right, from conservatives. You do, and you simply don't see it in the same way from people on the left. If anything, you see more of the punch a Nazi mentality.
Yeah.
So that's just how it is. By the way, you saw, I'm sure, this whole thing with Jamel Hill at ESPN, and then just another way that the media manipulates things. Now, look, my feelings on free speech. She could say whatever she wants, and ESPN can do whatever they want. That's up to them. I don't want the government telling anyone to do. But then at the press conference with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she said something to the effect of, well, it could be a fireable offense. It's up to ESPN. Then the media starts running on these stories about how the Trump administration demands ESPN fire her.
Yeah, I know.
And then the average person sees the quote, sees what they actually said, and sees the word demands and knows it's a lie. And then what do? They don't hate Trump more. They hate the media more. And in this case, they absolutely should.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's like the left cannot become more of a parody of itself. When they were getting rid of statues, Robert E. Lee, Confederate, like I can understand why someone might make that argument. I can understand it. I don't agree with whitewashing history, but it was so funny because Trump said, well, what's next? George Washington? Everyone said, what an idiot. Can you believe? And then the next day, we got to get rid of George Washington from the park. That is racist. Actual interview. The guy wanted to replace him with Michael Jackson, and he was on the news. I'm going, you are so beyond parody. You prove his crazy statements right. All right, Dave, I know you got to go. You're busy. Yeah. Thank you. And listen, I know, regardless of where we agree or disagree, I do appreciate that you have made it a point to stand up for free speech. I like the edge that I'm seeing from Rubin today. You seem a little fired up. Rubin Report on YouTube, Rubin Report on Twitter. Good guy, and he's got a brass pair. We really appreciate him coming on. Thanks so much, Dave. We'll see you soon.
I was just checking the brass pair.
Yeah.
P-O-G. I want more. I want to be where my people are. I want to see them dancing, enjoying themselves and eating those, what do you call them?
Oh, I think it's sushi. Orange chicken, kimchi. The tapas?
No.
Told ya.
Okay, Flounder, you can.
Yeah. Okay,
Forget it.
I know. I'm easy to find.
Go f yourself, Flounder.
Glad to be back. Roaming Millennial, Dave Rubin. Nice show.
Rubin, good show.
Owen Benjamin. Ben Shapiro. So, you know, one thing is we were seeing the tweets come in right away. When we're talking about topics a little lighter before we get to Title IX.
Yep.
It's funny, we always see this kind of rhythm. People going, why are you talking about this? Why are you talking about monkeys? Why are you talking about
with the Constitution?
We're talking about transgender stuff. Why aren't you talking about? And then that same person's like, "Hey, I really liked your segment on Title IX. Can you upload it as its own thing on YouTube?" And this is one thing where conservatives do, and people just who aren't the left have gotten it wrong for so long. And I hope that they learn to correct it here. Is this being so culturally irrelevant? Listen, if you're looking for a show that's only AM talk radio on video, this isn't for you. But that Title IX, why are you laughing?
This could be the worst place.
It couldn't be the. This is probably the worst of all the places you could have ended up. But you know, the Title IX thing, we put in so much work as far as sourcing and research on those kinds of stories, and we have a researcher who. We have some stuff we're working on now as far as infiltration behind the scenes that we're pretty happy with. Even though it's a comedy show, we are doing it ultimately for laughs, but sometimes we stumble across these stories. And like, how did that happen?
Like suing monkeys.
And you realize just the news has gotten so lazy. But the reason we address today, obviously we'll get into Title IX. Next week we'll get into DACA when we know more about the deal. I don't want to get into just conjecture. But the reason we'll also talk about the transgender issue with the fake rubber tits being taped back. The reason we'll also talk about the monkey issue in PETA is because here's one, it's that death by 1,000 cuts. And I talked about how awful that concealed carry course was that I did last week. But here's one thing that he did say, and they'll teach you, which is really important to note. The reason we address all of these issues simultaneously is because it's for the same reason that you need to be vigilant. Because if you're being carjacked, if your home is being robbed, guess what? You're the last one to know what's about to happen. The bad guys made all of the decisions. Okay? The bad guy has made every decision. He has decided to, in Detroit, where they invented carjacking, he has decided to have someone else pin you. He has decided that he's coming up to your door. He has decided that he has a gun, whether it's loaded or not, how he's going to threaten you. His exit. At this point, you are reacting. And guess what? That's why criminals generally get the better of people. Almost always. Sometimes the law gets the better of them. Why? because they've made all of these moves before the criminals have decided to take this action. They've put parameters in place. But you yourself, as a victim, are often the last person to know what's about to happen. Well, guess what? You're the last person to be able to do anything when you are just playing reaction at a certain point. Right now we're going, it's so absurd, the social justice left. Can you believe how far they've gone? Yeah. Because you gave them this rope for a long time. They decided, all right, it's going to be same-sex marriage. All right, it's going to be trannies in the bathroom. All right, it's going to be beautiful. We're going to make a woman of the year a man. All right, we're going to make sure that animals are put on the same playing field as humans. All right, we're going to remove your ability to have due process on campus. And people, all the conservatives are going, well, you know what, let's ignore that. Let's just talk about immigration policy. Listen, that matters too. But if you ignore everything else, and the right has been doing this for so long, you're the last to know where you've ended up as a society, as a culture. When people say, how did it get this way? Because of the people like you who bitch when someone is out there addressing an issue that might seem frivolous. It is something that the left has been so effective with. They have been so effective with convincing us that it's not a big deal and to not focus on the kind of crap that they're doing. To just focus on the issues that all of these issues matter. All of these issues matter. And I really am at a point, and hopefully you did, whether you're going on a campus right now and you're in Berkeley, keeping your head on a swivel, or wherever it's happening next. I think Milo is coming to Berkeley. I think Milo's Ben is in Utah, and I think we have Owen Benjamin is going to be doing all kinds of shows in Texas and then across the country. Keep your head on a swivel, because the last thing, you don't want to be the last to know. And there is a real opportunity. We're talking about this with Dave Rubin. I was talking about it on another show. There's an opportunity here to get ahead of the game. But you've got to recognize every issue that is being thrown at you. You have to see what is happening in these little incremental steps on a regular basis. And don't think that you're being holier than thou because you're only talking about DACA. This is something, if there's someone out there, if the think tanks who watch this show, the people who are afraid to admit that they watch, we get that all the time. People are like, this is my favorite, we just can't admit it. Even conservatives.
Even conservatives.
When we were at YouTube, remember? We were at the YouTube conference. Conservatives would not speak out.
People that would surprise you.
They were people that would surprise you because they were terrified. YouTube was quite literally looking them in the face saying, there is nothing going on with demonetization. There are no biases at YouTube. We're trying to be all-inclusive. And I said, well, hold on a second. What about the fact that all of our videos are being? What about the fact that every single video being featured, you know, from painting with period blood with BuzzFeed to Vox News, you know, it's about a ratio of 25-1 as far as featured. And conservatives looked and said, shut up. We want to make sure our policy videos. Well, guess what? When they take down your channel, you're the last to know. You're the last one to know that you've been screwed until you've been screwed. And conservatives culturally have been getting screwed so thoroughly and so firmly for such a long time because we've lulled ourselves into this sense of complacency to the point where that's why we didn't want to talk about DACA. Not every conversation just needs to be about Donald Trump. There's more going on. There's more going on, and the left understands, obviously NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, every single cable network. We have an editor who worked at TBS. He can tell you what's coming down the pike. They've decided they can always make some headway by making decisions when you ignore them. If there's nothing else that this show is about, do not ignore them. It's a battle of inches. Every single day. It can be exhausting. Believe me, it can be absolutely exhausting. But you need to battle for every single inch at all times. We've talked about this before. I'm actually gonna change what I said one time where I was telling someone, listen, if you're on campus or if you're working in the entertainment industry, I'd probably keep it quiet. No, this is the point where you can't. You can't at all. Everyone needs to come forward. There needs to be that cavalry over the hill, and you need to fight for every single damn inch that you can, because if you don't, and if all of us don't, we're gonna look at our country, as we did with this last election, and say, hey, how did we go this far this quickly? You were just the last to know. Let's stop doing that. We'll see you next week. Have an unbelievable lineup. Owen's actually gonna be in studio for a couple of days, so we're looking forward to that.
It only takes